morning, noon, or night, you've tuned in to the podcast that you need in your life. I'm your host, Mo, and welcome to the Mean Girls 1821 experience. But we know it as a podcast where we mean what we say and say what we mean, and we do it all within 3 to 5 minutes-ish. That ish is for the Holy Ghost. Nevertheless, you know the deal, you know the drill. Let's honor ourselves. Question. Has life been lifing? When is it not? But here's the good news. You're above the ground. And in this day and age, it is a blessing just to do this. Because everyone cannot say they can do that. Premise of this podcast is truth. So each and every Friday, via my YouTube channel and or listening through your podcast app, I'm going to encourage you to do 3 things. Number 1, show up fully. Number 2, walk with integrity. And last but not least, to reflect. Because beloved, sometimes the issue is you. Now, that's not always the easiest thing to do. So if you go to www.meangirls1821.com and go to shop, you'll be able to access resources like digital journals that help you take a proactive approach to this thing called life, because we don't always have to be in a reactive position to this life. We may not be able to control what happens around us, but we can control the responses from within us. Now, if you're like, I need a little bit more structure, if you go to Mean Girls Connect, there is a 6-week comprehensive e-course just for you that allows you to walk this Mean Girls 1821 journey by being yourself. My goal is not to make you another me, but it's to help you access the keys to walk in the mean girl tracks that God has prepared for you. Now, without further ado, let's begin today's episode. So last week was a really unique week. If you've been watching the news, you are privy to the shooting that happened at the private school in Nashville. On top of that, 2 people that are very close to me lost loved ones. And it was really triggering because I know what it's like to lose a parent. And my heart just grieves for my friends. And so in the midst of still having to show up for my family and having to show up for my job and show up for kids, there's still a part of my heart that grieved. I just felt blah. And I talked about it on my Instagram stories. Like, why do I feel so like meh? You know what I mean? Like kind of like that emoji that's kind of like, yeah, like why do I feel this way? And so on this podcast, we believe Proverbs 18:21. In fact, that is the root and core of the Mean Girls 1821 movement, that the power of life and death is in our tongue. And sometimes pairing those words with music can also help heal the soul. And so I was listening to a song entitled Peace Be Still. And Kalante Gavin sang it, but I want to read the lyrics because for me, the lyrics of this song narrate what I believe most of us have experienced one time in our lives. At some point in our lives, we've experienced this. And again, these are the disciples. Master, the tempest is raging. The billows are tossing high. The sky is overshadowed with blackness. No shelter or help is nigh. So everything's just dark. It's just problematic everywhere. My enemies seem to be succeeding. Hello? Seem to be. It's just helpless here. And then here we go. Carest thou not that we perish? How canst thou lie asleep? When each moment so madly is threatening a grave in the angry deep. Jesus, don't you care that we are in danger? God, don't you see me struggling? God, don't you see me trying to survive. God, don't you see what these people are doing? God, don't you see how it's breaking me down? God, don't you see? And bigger question, don't you care? Then we get to the chorus, reminding us of the character of Christ. That despite what's going on around us, the winds and waves shall obey thy will. Peace, be still. Whether the wrath of the storm-tossed sea, or demons, or men, or whatever it be, no water can swallow the ship where lies the master of ocean and earth and sky. I don't care how many calamities, catastrophic events happen to you or around you, as long as the master of the ocean, earth, and sky is with you, you cannot be swallowed up. Even if you perish in this life, you'll live and reign with him. The last two verses say, they all shall sweetly obey thy will. Peace, peace, be still. I want to encourage you this week that whatever you're going through is never bigger than God. Ever. There is nothing that can break you down so far, and I know it feels like it, like that you're at the bottom of the ocean. The winds and waves still obey him. And I promise you, he has not left you. He has not forsaken you. In fact, he's sleeping because he understands all power is still in his hands, and you have access to that power as long as he is the master in your life. I love you. Mean it. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Mean Girls 1821 podcast with me, your host, Mo. Tune in each and every Friday for a fresh episode exclusively found on my YouTube channel or using the podcast app. And always remember, words have power. So whenever you speak, mean what you say and say what you mean. Take care.